Now, that being said, I want to go straight ahead and introduce my friend who is also in media, who is also a judge and producer of the TV show The Real Entrepreneur, and that is Karisa Smith. And we've been gal palling for a little bit and a little while, and it's been incredible. She is an international entrepreneur. She gets the title, absolutely. Beauty and media, real estate, and tech. She is the formulator and founder of Philo Beauty. And for those of you that are going to be in the Oscars suite of gifting of the Mariana Group next week, you're going to meet this woman in person. She does so much for so many. She has an incredible story. She is purpose-driven. She is mission-driven, and she juggles with a cause. You know, like there's people that juggle. She juggles for a cause. And I love having those private conversations about all of that. And she's going to tell us more about what she does and why she does it. And you will see her with that incredible beauty company down there. She also has Connect MD, which is healthcare. And she'll talk about that as well. She wants to talk about the relationship commodity and that it's worth more than money. That is what she's going to share with us today. What you probably don't know is that she was in the 1996 opening ceremonies for the Olympics in Atlanta. Well, look at you. Look at you. Like I expect you to have like the crown on, put the crown on. The music that she loves to gig to, Whitney Houston, greatest love of all. Who doesn't know that song? Everybody knows that song. Now that I said it, it's going to be in your head all day because you know it. The gift that she is going to be giving to everyone is a beauty guide on how to have the most gorgeous natural skin. Yay, that's yummy. And then one person is going to have a very special gift of a $400 package of a bountiful beauty package of Philo Beauty. So thank you, my friend, for coming on today and sharing with us. I look forward to hearing what you have to say today. So welcome to Stand Up, Speak Up, Show Up. Yes, you.
Thank you. Thank you, Deb, for such a warm welcome. And yes, some of those things you're only going to know about me if you are close to me. So, I've had the pleasure of meeting Deb and building this relationship, which is what I want to mainly talk about today. But I'll give you guys a little bit of my backstory just to kind of understand where I'm coming from. So, born and raised in Connecticut, I have two children. I was married. I was widowed at the age of 33. So my children were young. 4 and 7. Their father was killed by a drunk driver, and I have been doing pretty much life raising them and running businesses all by myself. Really, no family help, which is why relationships to me are so very, very important. All of the things that I do, TV media, which is The Real Entrepreneur. We are a TV show where we take a set of 10 entrepreneurs, put them through life's business challenges, all of the twists and turns, which I am experiencing right now as I'm preparing to go to the Oscars. My labels won't be in time, so I am freaking out trying to find solutions. So it's those things, that we put them through, and whoever wins the competition gets seed money into their business, or they can walk away with cash. But we also work with them to help them build their business. So, and I got into that through relationships. So also from there, I started my beauty company. It's a skincare company. It was a cosmetic and skincare company. I actually started that back in 2019, but I had to kind of put it down. So being a single mom and juggling family, as we all know, it can be challenging. And so I had to put it down at that point in time because as a single mom, I was juggling two children who were both in high school and very uncommonly. So my daughter started high school at 12 and college at 14. So she kind of skipped up a little bit. I had them like 3 years apart for a reason, but everything doesn't work out on our timing. It's God's timing. So, and she turned out, and both of my children are super, super smart. So, when we came back from Costa Rica, we actually lived there for a little while, where that's one of my major real estate projects I built out in bed and breakfast. We came back and she had done so well. And, so she's 12, she's going into high school, she's playing volleyball. My son, he is he is 15. He's playing football. I'm not missing any games, any of that stuff. So I had to really kind of focus on them and put that down. So, but then fast forward some time later, it leads me to talk about it's all about timing. I think your endeavors are all about timing. Relationships can be all about, timing for when they actually truly flourish. So it was fast forward years later. I moved to Florida after they were out of the house, and I was on another TV show, and that's where I met one of my business partners for my Philo Beauty. And we just really clicked during filming with him. And so, after about 6 months of building the relationship, we decided to come together and partner together with Philo Beauty. So, he is a biohacker. He is the smartest man I've ever met. Somebody is very intelligent when you say, "What is your IQ?" Because you can just tell they got a high IQ, right? And their answer is, "I try to keep it around." And I'm like, so you're smart enough to play with the IQ test to keep it to where you want people to think you want it to be. Okay, hands down. So, those type of people is what I run into in my life. And so we started Philo Beauty. It was skincare and cosmetics. I've just recently dropped the cosmetic portion of it because I want to focus on one thing and do that one thing very well. As many of the speakers have talked about, it's almost like, what is your niche? How do you stay in your lane? How do you build those relationships that are going to help you move the needle, right? So and I am going to be at the Oscars. We're doing our official launch, and I'm super excited about that. Got introduced to that opportunity by Deb. Again, relationships, right? So my whole theme is what are the relationships that you're building and why? And then my healthcare company is called Connect MD, and we are actually telehealth services. So this is another opportunity I got building relationships from the TV show. And I used to be in the insurance and financial services world. So in my past career, I would mentor and help scale CEOs anywhere from 1 million to 30 million, but I had 30 of them at a time. And then at my height, I had 150, and I was over 3 states doing that. So scaling, building, marketing, everything under the gamut is what I did. So when this opportunity came to me to kind of build out my own division of this company, it was a no-brainer because we all know what's happening in healthcare right now. Premiums are skyrocketing, people are losing them. If you are not a citizen, at least here in the United States, that's where I'm at, you might be losing your state benefits. So, I immediately jumped on the bandwagon with this because it was so important, and it's so I don't want to say cheap. It's just very affordable, right? So when you think about it, our highest plan is $99. Okay. And it's all telehealth, by the way. So it's not major medical, and we're healthcare membership, not insurance. So it's $99 a month. You're getting free prescriptions, free urgent care, free primary care, free mental health care. You can put 7 people onto a plan, no additional costs. There's no denials because there's no pre-existing conditions. And there's no social security numbers needed. So, and I'm like, this is kind of a no-brainer. And I have it because I'm an entrepreneur and I don't carry insurance because of those big premiums, and I just don't need it right now. And I don't have enough people where I need to provide them for insurance. So this is like really, really a great supplement if people have employees and they want to give them something for retention. So yeah, so I signed on and I'm now building that. I'm kind of like a crazy woman. Everything is overlapping, but that's just what I do. But going back to, my highlight, it's the relationships. And I firmly believe that, we have to look beyond the bank. Cash, many people think that cash is king. You can buy something, it can get you into a door, but it's the relationships that are going to compound and compound and compound, which is how I got to where I am. And also been able to really kind of survive this entrepreneurial world because I don't have a husband. I don't have, family that supports me, so to speak. So I have to really, really lean on those relationships. And they're important to me because I am a helper and I want to help people move the needle as well. And you can't do that unless you build those strong, successful relationships. So, as we all know, that we're social animals, right? We depend on connections for survival, which is why we're here. and without them, some of the, even the wealthiest people, can feel empty. They can feel lonely. I know just as we all are building our businesses and we're in businesses, it gets pretty lonely. We work a lot. We work a lot. We don't necessarily take time to take care of ourselves or, do fun things. So, when you have that opportunity, we need to do that. And I've always pondered, is cash really king? If you have 2 million, 5 million, $2 billion in the bank, but you don't have anybody that you can share your wealth with or share what you're doing with, your houses, your boats, whatever it is. And if you don't have somebody that's in your circle that you can really trust that has your back, you can have all the money in the world, but you're also pretty, pretty lonely. And I just believe that connections are indispensable assets. We build nurturing relationships that can attach you to greater opportunities of success, right? We're all here on this amazing Women's Day over the weekend event, and we're also meeting people within this group that I know a lot of people are going to build greater relationships with, and a lot of opportunities are going to come out of this. And also, building relationships, the power of connection. It's that when you're connected to people, I believe that you have greater emotional returns. You do better, you feel like you're not alone. You can collaborate, you can build many things faster. I always say if you want to go fast, do it by yourself, but if you want to go far, do it with somebody else. So, is anybody relating to that? Oh yeah, fantastic. Yeah. And in relationships, I pride myself on trust. That is a foundation for any relationship that I built, right? I need to trust that person. They need to trust me. And, without that, I feel like it's such a great foundation. When you don't have trust as a foundation, you really can't go very far with that relationship. So, I make sure that I treat my relationships that I'm building very, very delicately. I'm always going to be respectful. I'm always going to, listen attentively. And, we all know that people, when they say they're listening, but they're not, and they're doing something else, you can tell whether it's on a Zoom or it's on the phone, they're just not paying attention. And I believe that all of those things are, when you are present in your relationships, all of those are very, very important and they help to build trust. So, um, once ROI used to stand for return on investment, but I like to say today ROI stands for return on intention. Thank you. When you're going into relationships, you want to be intentional. And even in business, and everything that I do has a purpose to it. So it's my businesses are very purposeful. They're very intentional, as are, the relationships that I create while I'm out there networking or I'm meeting people. Just like I said, people, they really feel when you're intentional with the relationships or if you're there for one single reason. And I'm not saying that either is, wrong. We can have very transactional relationships. Like if I go to the post office, I'm mailing something, I'm certainly nice and I'm very respectful, but that's not a relationship that I'm building. Versus, if I'm working with Deb and I say, hey Deb, I want to be on a TV show or I want to help this, we're building that relationship. So it's a different type. Some can be very transactional and some can be, just they're very intentional and they're built for the long term. So, and then with that, some of the industries and the projects I've been able to get into through my relationships is the healthcare, the TVs, my beauty company, hotels. So I'm getting ready to build my first hotel with my business partner out there. And that all came from, building the relationship. I had my other business partner that was doing a veterans project. I mentioned it to him and he's like, oh my God, I did that. before, I want in. And here's where the trust component came in with that relationship. He said to me, he said, if you're in, I'm in. If you're out, I'm out. I don't care what we're doing. It's about my relationship with you. And if you trust this person, that's going to allow me to trust this person. So, and then down the road, I said to him one day, I said, I've been in real estate pretty much for 20 years, and I would love to get out of the sales piece of it and start building out real estate, either multifamilies, or one day I'd love to get into hotels. I am a minority woman, and I know that there's a lot of brands out here like Marriott's and Hilton's and things like that. They will actually give you money because they want to diversify their owner base. And I said to him, I said, I want to do that one day. And about 3 weeks later, he said, you want this opportunity? Here it is. But you're coming in with me because you got to learn, and we're going to do this together. I trust you. And I think that we can do business very, very well together. And I said, okay, let's see where this goes. So again, that's where the building of the relationship comes in. And I just want to give everybody here a challenge before I wrap up, is to just some actionable items to start building strong relationships within 24 hours. And number one, just pick up your phone, reach out, thank somebody who's helped you in your career, and just express your gratitude. You're not asking for anything. You're not, wanting anything for them. You're just simply saying thank you. People really appreciate that, because a lot of times in our lives we do so much for people. We don't do it with expectation, but it's also nice to know that we're appreciated. Reconnect with somebody. The second thing is reconnect with somebody. Get in touch with somebody, an old friend, a colleague that you've lost touch with, but you would love to rekindle that conversation. Life gets busy. Businesses get busy, and it's not like we're intentionally not trying to build those relationships, but sometimes things slip by the wayside, and you never know what they're up to and how you guys might be able to collaborate right now. And then the third actionable item is just help someone. Offer to help and give assistance to somebody in need, whether it's a colleague, it's a neighbor, it's a stranger. Just no strings attached. You never know what's going to come out of it. And I like to say, you're always one hello, one smile, one conversation away from changing your life.
Oh my goodness. I love the activity at the end. That was so great. Thank you so much. What a beautiful
Thank you.
explanation of the relationship commodity that you're talking about. Like, not only do we see what some of those results have been for you, when you get to that place in the relationship, it's like, if you're in, I'm in.
Yeah.
I think we've all probably experienced that at some point. And that says a lot about you, and it says a lot about
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for highlighting and reminding that in this transactionary. Sometimes it's transactionary because we're so abundant with things to do that sometimes we forget to drop in. I mean, sometimes we're not even in our body some of the day, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And that drop in place where there's just that extra, 4 minutes on the phone that you stay on, or when you think of somebody, right? Just reach out, like, you've been on my mind. You okay?
Hmm.
Those kind of things that keep that commodity alive. And we all need it. You're right. Oh my
You're
goodness.
right.
Stacy, I'd love to hear a little bit about you. I've got a question that I'm formulating here because I had one and then someone put something in the chat and damn it, I got to think of another one. So, Stacy, yeah, my beautiful co-host for the day. Thoughts?
Well, first off, I could not be more envious. I don't get jealous, just envious that so much has been downloaded to you to be able to share with us, but at the same time, grateful. I have to say that I will remember this phrase, and you will be quoted probably daily on return on intention,
Mhm.
because I really feel like you hit the nail on the part when especially women, we put and invest so much intention and purpose into everything, and it doesn't always return back in financial rewards. But
Absolutely.
we can always say it got us something. We learned from it, or we got a relationship out of it, or something. So I want to say thank you. I've never heard anybody say that before. So I'm just curious, when did that come to you, that phrase? Well, Deb's still formulating a question.
Well, it really came to me as I was preparing. So now, I do speaking engagements and I speak on that, that very topic. And, as I was researching, but then also at the time I was going through this and I'm reevaluating my relationships, right? I go through these periods of reevaluating them. And it was at a place and time where there's a lot of people coming at me, but I don't know if they have the right intention. So
Yeah, cool.
that's where it came up to say, okay, if I build this relationship both ways, what is our return on intention? What are we both trying to get out of here? And does it align?
I love it. All right.